A product is sold on Wall Street, not bought. And so when Fidelity, BlackRock, ARK Asset Management, they enter the ETF space, they've got people picking up the phone, calling consultants, calling asset managers, calling Garden Variety, Wirehouse, Financial.
Right. Anthony Scaramucci, a Wall Street expert, discussed Bitcoin's potential, citing its 2020 rebound, unique technical qualities, and institutional investment prospects. He expressed humility on long-term valuation, estimating $350,000 to $400,000 if it reaches half of gold's market capitalization, and predicted increased ETF-driven institutional adoption. As these factors align, Bitcoin is expected to become a more integral part of global finance, offering diversification opportunities and potentially substantial returns for those willing to navigate its fluctuation. Additionally, technological advancements, such as improvements in scalability and transaction speed, could enhance Bitcoin's utility as a medium of exchange. With increasing public awareness and acceptance, Bitcoin might evolve from a speculative asset to a core component of diversified investment portfolios across the globe. Anthony Scaramucci indicated that as a Bitcoin observer, he'll keep a neutral attitude. He remarked on Bitcoin's 2020 crisis and its comeback, fueled by stimulus money. Scaramucci stressed the IRS's definition of Bitcoin as intangible property, which protects it under property law, citing its expansion to 80 million wallets. Scaramucci credited Sam Bankman-Fried with exposing fraud at companies such as Deeks and Celsius. Let's watch clips from the interview for further insights into this discussion. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more exclusive content. Enjoy the video.
Analysts and saying, or financial associates and saying, hey, please, Mr. Financial Advisor, buy 1% allocation to Bitcoin. Do it through our ETF. It's low cost. We'll store it for you. It's got a QSIP number. It can go right on your client statement, et cetera, et cetera. And so what Wall Street does is it gins up this huge selling machine. And you're seeing that right now in a very small way.
Right.
Because wirehouses haven't come into it. Registered investment advisors haven't come into it. Large-scale institutions have not really started buying it. Now, granted, there are sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East that have started buying it. But by and large, there's an untapped pool of several $1 trillion of assets that could enter the space. And if that happens, then me saying that there's a 50% market capitalization of gold will be very low. But I just want people to recognize where we are right now. These prices, if you overlay the macro environment, these prices are light. And again, look at NVIDIA, look at Amazon,
right.
Look at Facebook. When they start scaling and they scale exponentially and they take full advantage of Metcalfe's law, full advantage of the networking effects, they move quickly. I think NVIDIA is up 6 times in the last 18 months.
That's insane. It's wild. And we're certainly at an inflection point in the industry. So now first quarter, can you give us some stats on the inflows, your thoughts on how the halving is going to affect the price of Bitcoin?
So it's just under $15 billion, which is a staggering amount of money. Just to put it into context, the gold ETF, it took 12 months to get to $10 billion. So that meant there were a tremendous amount of fence sitters on Bitcoin, tremendous amount of pent-up demand. And so you do have this flood of capital coming out of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. And so we can be Monday morning quarterbacks and say, geez, maybe if they priced that a little lower, they would have seen less movement. But I think you're finding, and I don't know this analysis empirically, but I think you are, or big pension consultant comes out with a tactical asset allocation model that has 1% exposure to Bitcoin or 2% exposure to Bitcoin, then you'll really see.
You start doing those numbers, and it's just like
this monolithic demand. But remember this: if you're a consultant and you want to differentiate yourself from your peer group, you're going to recommend Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to want your client to get invested, right? You want to get your client off zero.
Right.
You're not going to say put 20% of your money in it. But you're going to say, we want to have a 1 or 2% exposure. And now you put pressure on all these other portfolios, right?
Right.
Because remember, these guys, like I said, it's like a match sailing race. They all get in an index, they hover around the index. So if my index has Bitcoin in it and yours doesn't, and I'm doing better than you because mine has Bitcoin in it, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, people are going to gravitate toward the one that's, getting that outsized return.
100%.
Absolutely. So there's 900 Bitcoin being mined right now as of before the halving.
Per day.
So per day after the halving, what's that going to look like?
Well, so on or about April 20th, we're going to go from 900 Bitcoin a day to 450. A lot of people get confused about this, so I want to make the distinction. It doesn't mean the supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half. Right. It means the amount of Bitcoin that's being produced by the network on a daily basis gets cut in half. So there's still a few percentage points left of Bitcoin that has yet to be mined.
Right.
And that halving cycle will take place through 2140.
Right. So well into the future.
Yeah, right. So you got 120 years or 30 more halvings, if you will, before you get to the end of the Bitcoin.
How many Scaramucci says that?
I don't know. We could figure it out, though. A process that will mathematically make the incremental Bitcoin more scarce.
Right.
So let's say I'm Robbie Mitchnick at BlackRock and I've got $500 million of create, meaning people are calling me and saying, create $500 million worth of Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. I now have to go into the market, seller at 100. Larry, you want to buy some at 100? Well, I actually have to because I have $500 million of cash right now that I'm obligated to convert into Bitcoin.
Right. Okay. No, and that's what's going to
not to see the asymmetrical nature of this trade. It's either you're not paying attention. You were told by Jamie Dimon that Bitcoin's a pet rock. And so therefore you're not doing the homework on it.
Right.
Or you think it's, there was a author, he wrote his book about Sam Bankman-Fried, Number Go Up, which is, it's just a greater full multi-level marketing scam.
Right. We've heard that one a lot.
Right. Number go up. Yeah. Okay. But then you don't really understand the network. And then you don't understand what Professor Metcalf said about the value of a network, right? Like he was testifying 35 years ago to the question, but I'm just saying we were doing this interview. In 1998, we were on fat box computers. We had dial-up modems under our desk and they would whir and burr to get the dial tone. And then it would take 35 seconds for our landing pages to arrive on the internet. And maybe mine was AOL.
I remember that dial-up.
Right. Yours was Prodigy or whatever. Yeah. And we had an email account. And we could buy a Pez gun from eBay or a book from Amazon. But imagine coming in 25 years later and saying, well, you know what? This thing that we're calling Web 1, there's going to be pipes that are so wide that we're going to have trillions of dollars of transactions happen over the internet.
So
moreover, we're going to have billions of people watching 4K video, playing video games like Fortnite or Call of Duty.
Right.
They're going to stream Netflix. They're going to do all of this on this wide bandwidth. They're going to have, billions of people interacting with each other on social media over this thing that we're calling the internet.
Unimaginable at that time.
I don't think it's imaginable. No. People would have scoffed at you.
Yeah, same place we're at now. And it's once in a generation opportunity that you will miss if you don't do the homework, as you say.
Same place we're at.
Your price prediction for this year, $170,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I want to be clear. So I've gotten this wrong and I've ended up in the public dunking square. I've been dunked in the water for getting it wrong because I said 100,000 by first quarter of 2022. Got it wrong. I believe we get to 100,000 this year, but I believe we get to 170,000 in the cycle. So you mentioned Plan B, best time to buy is before the halving, and then people can liquidate after the halving into an up sort of slope. Typically after a halving, you go 4x the price from where it was at the halving. And so let's say it halves in 2 weeks, we're at 70,000. People will say, all right, 18 months from now, it should be 280,000. So I just used the number that it was on the day of the ETF.
Okay.
And I said, okay, here's the day of the ETF. Let's multiply that by 4, count the halving in. That's 170,000. And if this asset goes from 70 to 170,000, it started the year at 40 plus, I guess, 40 You have to do the math. I think it was 44 or something like that. I'm not sure, but
I think it was just under that. Yeah.
All right, but if you go from
to wrap this up, I want to talk about your book because it's been really special getting to know you, and you've given some descriptions on what it's been like to get dragged by the media. You even showed us a visual of it about what happened when FTX happened, and various other challenges in your career, including your 11-day stint in the White House. So your book, Wall Street. From Wall Street to the White House and back. I mean, you give some really valuable advice in this book. What would you say are some of the key takeaways or things that people can really get excited about?
So, I don't want to do the book too much of a disservice or anything like that, but I've like simplifying things. I'd get it down to 3 things. Okay. Number 1, you got to build some really good habits for yourself. So, I mean, that's mindset habits in terms of your gratitude, how you think about life. And everybody's got problems. I have my share of problems. I'm sort of going.
It's just like you. I mean, you've proven
going, man. You
keep going and you reach incredible amounts of success, and you can bounce back from anything, right?
Don't stop,
Yeah.
And as long as it's not a health issue, which God forbid, unfortunately, all of us eventually are going to have a health issue. But as long as it's not a health issue, you can survive it.
Check out the link below if you buy and spend coins. Check Nexo Exchange for a free $35 in Bitcoin. And I'll see you in the next one.